So the Republicans have been attacking the FBI at the behest of Donald Trump for quite some time now. Why? Because the FBI is investigating Donald Trump's connections to Russia. Now, if you didn't do it, I've got to say, again, I'm not sure why you'd be on the attack and trying to rip our law enforcement agencies down. It sounds like you're against the rule of law and against cops. The FBI are the top cops in the country. But one of the reasons that they do it, of course, is to poison the well against Robert Mueller. So they want to say, oh, the leadership is wrong, and they had all these connections to Mueller, and we got to fire the special counsel. Now, in order to help do that, Devin Nunes, who worked on Trump's transition, wrote a partisan memo as part of the House Intelligence Committee. They released it publicly, and it was a total dud. And everybody who looked at it said, yeah, but you omitted huge parts of the story. A lot of this stuff is misleading. It doesn't tell us anything we didn't know before. So they had hyped it up beyond all reason, as you're about to see in a second. And it turns out there really wasn't much there at all, as we told you on this program. So was it a mistake to hype it up that much? And the conventional wisdom right now is yes. Oh, what a bunch of clowns, they hyped it up and then it fell flat. I think that conventional wisdom is wrong. I think it did serve the purpose that it was intended for. Now, I'm going to show you how much they hyped it up, how over the top it was. Now, remember, after it was released, even other Republicans, including Trey Gowdy, who Nunes said knew more about the intelligence than he did, came out and said, no, this doesn't prove that there was no Russian connections. I support Mueller 100%. So all of this was wrong, but nonetheless, watch it and I'll tell you the effect that it did have.
Requirement to determine the full extent to which the FBI, the DOJ, and special counsel's office have been compromised and corrupted.
We know how the deep state has been trying to undermine Donald Trump from the days he was a candidate.
Sean, this is bigger than anything anybody can imagine.
And when you say that this makes Watergate like stealing a Snickers bar.
This is 100 times bigger. This is our government spying on political adversaries.
The Department of Justice and the FBI are corrupt. They're crooked.
There's so much smoke here. There's so much suspicion.
Now the evidence has been mounting and mounting and mounting, and one smoking gun after another. It's incontrovertible at this point.
Here are two bureau agents talking about a secret society. I don't have a clue what they're talking about.
Secret society within the Justice Department and the FBI.
I don't know whether one existed, but you know what, Aaron? It's not my responsibility to prove that.
What this is all about is further evidence of corruption, more than bias, but corruption at the highest levels of the FBI and that secret society.
So we know the deep state can mobilize if they want to, and they can create false narrative that everybody in the media believes.
We are dealing with the world's premier investigative agency here, and people that come forward to us fear retaliation.
It's a scary night, but there's going to be a lot of news all week long. We are part of a small group of people.
Now, at one point they said it was, what, 100 or 1,000 times worse than Watergate? If you missed it, Sebastian Gorka said it was 100 times worse than what led to the American Revolution. Now, how's that for hype? Now, as I told you, other Republicans came out afterwards, oops, yeah, it didn't have much in it. But get a load of this. The HuffPost reporting, a new poll that came out, of those Trump voters who've heard about the memo, 79% think it shows that the FBI did something wrong, and more than 80% describe the memo's contents as accurate. Now, if you ask that 80%, did you read the memo? I guarantee you that the percentage who read it is in the ballpark of 0.00008, right? And nobody read that memo. They're like, no, I'm positive it's accurate though. And they heard about it. Gee, I wonder where they heard about it. We'll get to more on that in a second. And they never heard that it was inaccurate. That message never reached them. I'll give you some facts on that in a second as well. So now nearly 3/4 of Trump voters, 74%, say the FBI is biased against the president, according to a new HuffPost YouGov survey. Now, let's go further. Just under 1/3 of Trump voters say they have even a fair amount of trust in the FBI, while 64% say they don't trust the FBI very much or at all. So he got most of his followers, at least 3/4, to believe that the FBI is working against them, and it's unfair, they're biased. And then he undermined trust in the FBI among Republican voters almost completely. Now nearly 2/3 of Trump voters say they don't even trust the FBI for anything. Look at how quick that worked. In essence, mission accomplished. He was never going to convince Democrats, and he might convince some independents, but overall, he wanted his base to think, oh, they're coming to get us unfairly, and they do believe that. And Trump, of course, finished the propaganda circuit by saying, after the memo was released by the way, Donald Trump, that it, quote, totally vindicates Trump, calling himself Trump in the third person, of course. Now, it did no such thing, but it doesn't matter. All you have to do is keep lying about it. In fact, the last Republican president explained this phenomenon nearly perfectly.
Third time I've said that. I'll probably say it 3 more times. See, in my line of work, you got to keep repeating things over and over and over again for the truth to sink in, to kind of catapult the propaganda.
So somebody told Bush that that's how we catapult the propaganda. He was supposed to stop the sentence at for the truth to set in, but he couldn't help himself and accidentally actually catapulted the truth in that last part of the sentence, which was, this is how we do propaganda. We just keep on repeating it. Now, they explained that Hillary Clinton voters and independents did not see the memo or the FBI in the same light, and that they still support the FBI overwhelmingly. Now, here comes the interesting part. The two groups are also, meaning the Trump voters and the people who didn't vote for Trump, are also getting their news about the memo from distinctly different places. A majority of both Clinton and Trump voters who followed the story say that cable TV was among the sources they relied on. But while those Clinton voters tuned in largely to CNN and MSNBC, the Trump voters who watched cable coverage of the story were overwhelmingly likely to say they'd seen it on Fox News. So that is why we have the different realities that we do in America today, where one side gets some degree of facts from traditional media, and you might say with bias loaded in, and everybody's got a different version of what that bias is. The other side has a completely different reality, detached from facts altogether. Did the memo actually prove that the FBI was trying to do a coup against the president or overthrow him or get him out of office? No, not remotely. But Fox News says it anyway, and that becomes the reality for the Trump voters, who are not even watching anything else. They're not reading anything else. They're getting all their news from Fox, so they think that's what's true. So that leads us to this divided nation. HuffPost explaining here, overall, that leaves 35% of Americans who've heard about the memo saying that it shows the FBI did something wrong, and another 34% that it vindicates the Bureau, with the rest unsure. And that's kind of where we have it. A third of the country says Trump is right, facts be damned. A third of the country says Trump is wrong. By the way, that 34% saying that the memo vindicates the Bureau makes no sense either. The memo is damning of the Bureau. The memo's wrong, that's a different question, but it doesn't necessarily vindicate the Bureau. So now you got another third that says, no, Trump is always wrong, and another third sitting in the middle confused, and somewhat rightfully so. Look, when you have one side that job is to just do propaganda because the facts do not suit their purposes, and they attack all the different sources that bring you news, media, professors, schools, scientists, and they replace it with their propaganda that they are catapulting. You set up a dangerous situation where we have a country that lives in two different realities, and that's where we are today. So the FBI, if they come out, the special counsel, with overwhelming evidence that the president has broken a law, or maybe several laws, 1/3 of the country will never believe them. They won't even bother to look at the facts. They won't read it. They'll tune into Fox News, and whatever Fox News tells them, and whatever Donald Trump says on his Twitter account, they will repeat. So that sets us up for a crisis. Let's hope it doesn't happen. Let's hope cooler minds prevail at some point if there is a reckoning. Let's hope that somebody can talk Donald Trump into settling this amicably. As I say that sentence out loud, it certainly doesn't appear that that'll happen. And by the way, it's also possible that Mueller doesn't get him, in which case, yes, then he'll continue on with the rest of his term and the reckoning will come in an election, and which is great, and they should. And let's hope those elections are fair and honest, and that they don't pull two different realities on an election. But as things stand now, if Mueller does find evidence of a crime, about 35% of the country will likely never believe it. That's pretty dangerous. If you become a member of the Young Turks, you'll be saying,
you know, I'm like a smart person.
So do it right now, tytnetwork.com/join. Get the whole Young Turks show every day.